Everyone's talking about AI, but who's actually implementing it? I'm Jenna Ahern, the CEO of Guardian Owl Digital, a search engine marketing firm rooted in integrity and transparency in the digital age. AI and marketing are at a crossroads, and the technology is moving faster than most business leaders can keep up with. That's why we created Go AI, a podcast series where we interview leaders in various industries about all things artificial intelligence. With each guest, my co-host Connor Rafferty and I will explore the applications that this rapidly evolving technology has for business leaders and their industries. Let's go AI. Welcome back to the Go AI podcast. Connor and I are thrilled for today's guest. It is Denise O'Donnell with Scope. And I'm going to let Denise tell you a little bit about herself.
Thanks for having me. I own a company called Scope, which stands for the successful collaboration of partners and entrepreneurs. My job is to get you round the curve. Your idea is yours. You know what you want. We just know how to make it possible. And so we help you from a business, operational and financial performance side of things. How are you doing in your company? And so that's what we do every day. And we get to help marketing agencies and tech companies primarily, but we do have a couple other industries that filter in now and then where we manage to have a good click. So yeah, a lot of fun every day.
Denise, I love that. And we're thrilled that you're here. Obviously, you're not a native to the US based on your voice. So where are you from originally?
Yeah. So I am from a tiny town called Paisley. Apparently the Paisley pattern was actually birthed there. There's also some rumours it was in India way before. But they still have a Paisley Pattern Festival, so it's certainly my favourite thing. If you've ever flown into Scotland, you'll fly into Glasgow Airport, but it's technically in Paisley, so that's where I'm from. Right next, not far from the airport, about 10 minutes, and I grew up there with mainly my grandparents for most of my life. My grandma's my best friend, so and then I came here to America at 16 to play some soccer.
I love football, right?
Football, good football, yeah.
Okay, well, who's your football team, though?
Arsenal.
Go Gunners.
Yep,
yes.
That's right.
I love that. I forgot that you had told me that. We won this weekend, too.
No, not so great this
not
weekend.
So great?
Tie,
okay.
Ended up tying.
That's right. That's right. Well, Denise, this obviously is an AI podcast. I want to dive in a little bit to your journey because you played soccer, came over here to the US at 16. That's amazing. And obviously starting your own company, Scope, and being successful, not just in soccer, but in business, it's incredible. So we're honored to have you. Hopefully we can learn a little bit more about your story. But when you think about AI as it relates to business, what comes to mind for you?
I just want people to be less afraid of it, right? It's not about taking the expert out the loop. You will always need the expert in the loop. It's about using it to free up points in your day to do the things that you love doing. So I like to use mine to buy back my time. Like, what can I make it do that's boring? You know, because it's really good at boring tasks and it doesn't mind them.
Yeah.
So why not give it what it loves and then let you do what you love? Oftentimes I'll see people using it for creative work, which in certain spaces that's amazing. But for me, I like the creative part of my job and I don't want to take that away. So I'd rather have AI make me SOPs and, help me enhance my writing or, maybe ask it for some deep research versus, hey, how can I really think about this new idea, right? I want to think about those on my own because ultimately the expert in the loop kind of knows how that stuff works a wee bit better than AI does right now.
Words of wisdom. Yeah, buying back your time. I feel like a lot of our audience can relate to that.
Could you take us through your personal journey with AI, such as like when the first time you had heard about AI up to now?
What a great question. I think when I remember the first time watching a video on YouTube about someone actually using ChatGPT in other ways, and I had thought, the usual things had come out more so like, well, you can use it to create social media posts, right? And there was that big boom of, holy smokes, this can write me content, but can it really, right? And so I was sort of watching the age of AI develop, and I thought, this could be so useful to do all of the things that people hate doing, which is actually what my company does, right? We do all the boring parts of business and we try and make it exciting in terms of let's bring you more, let's interact with you in a way that that you understand numbers rather than these like faceless financial statements or boring metrics. Let's make them interactive charts. Let's understand what they're telling us and let's use them as a storytelling metric versus a boring piece of paper that you may or may not use in your business every day when it should be driving a lot of your decisions. So as I started diving into AI and using it, I started learning more about prompting and understanding what return it was going to give me. And so for someone who's a very analytical human, it was cool to watch it do its thing and come back with the wrong results and understand why. Well, the data it's pulling from is not the right set. The prompt you gave it really wasn't going to return that ever unless you tell it to do these things. And so I started introducing it into my company and my team members to use it for things like organizing and brain dumping, right? Like we have a custom GPT now for brain dumping, and I talk to it all the time. It's called Brain Dump on Brenda, and Brenda then sorts all my ideas into something that I can then share with my team that's not overwhelming. So when I think about my AI journey, it was all about taking what's boring and making it useful, but taking it off people's plate so that they didn't have to do it every day. So I went sort of from ChatGPT to Claude to Llama, and now I'm playing around with Manus AI. You know, like I need to stop playing around with it so I do my daily job. But
well, no, you're buying back your time so you can play more.
Exactly. So we call it ponder time at Scope, and everyone gets some ponder time every day because it helps that sort of from, you know, those in the past that used to only work 4 hours a day. Well, we might not be able to do that. We do carve out 45 minutes a day for everyone to really sit and ponder on what this could become. And that's what our journey in AI really helped us develop, is what can we become? What is possible? We don't have to be these boring report makers. Let's see how we can actually communicate this and tell people's story with their own data and help them make sensible decisions. So I just started diving in to see how can I make this real, and I kept going.
Oh, I love that, because a lot of our guests so far, they've given these words of wisdom of don't be afraid and be the practitioner. And it sounds like you immediately saw the opportunity to just buy back your own time with tasks that you didn't like doing. So you would give it to ChatGPT. And then from there, you recognized, okay, this is actually applicable from a business standpoint. I can integrate this within Scope. And I love that you mentioned like the ponder time, just giving your team an opportunity to play, but still be productive with their quote play times. That's amazing. So tell us a little bit, Scope. I know you kind of gave an elevator pitch a little bit about what Scope is, but can you give us a little bit more about what your company does? You mentioned for tech and marketing agencies, but what is it that Scope does?
Sure. So what we found after a lot of research, and then this was also aided by AI, where we could actually take things like our Fireflies notes and see what our customers were asking for the most amount of times.
Oh,
and,
that's cool.
Like we took our top 100 posts that had been most interacted with, and we were able to put that into custom data to see what are people really asking for. And what we found is that most marketing and tech agencies, they're skyrocketing because they're so good at what they do. But when you start to gain this massive, or gain like traction and success, you can't really build a house on grass, right? So if I was to put my foundation on the grass, you can,
it's not going to go well.
It might sink. And so what we realize is that a lot of that profit that should have been staying in the business to keep it pushing forward was being lost. And so we noticed that most marketing agencies lose between about 12 to 18% on profits through operational misfires. And so CEOs are typically going to come into us when they are really unsure how many hours they can actually produce. So a capacity planning standpoint. They know that they're making money, but they don't know where it's going. So it's going somewhere, but it doesn't seem to be going back into their business. Or they're really just not sure what the ROI is on what they're doing. So are they pricing, and are they then managing the cost behind the scenes correctly? So cost per client functions. And when we look at those, we can then turn that into a performance operations metric to say, how well are you performing as a business?
Sure.
And that's where then we can see those leaks or those things from a money, people's, or systems point of view to say, let's tighten that up. Most of the time, it's not that the CEO doesn't know what they need to do. It's that they don't have time. they don't have capacity, right? We've all only got 24 hours in a day. And ultimately, if you don't want to do that, we're just really good at it. Right. I spent 12 years as a CFO and COO.
I was just going to say, give us, so how did this, come to be? Because obviously you're an expert at operations and it seems like CFO work, essentially.
I spent most of my time, so I'm actually a traditional accountant, which was very difficult for me. I noticed that was not where I was supposed to be and that I like the conversation. I want to understand the why rather than this is just the outcome and it is what it is. And so once I reached the CFO level, I realized I'm actually a lot better at doing some of the integrations. And most of the time as a CFO, especially in smaller companies, you end up with the COO role just baked in accidentally. It's not until this more modern landscape where we're seeing the COO role really have a focus on being carved out because they are your executor and your integrator. CFO is very vertical, so it's a one-line track, right? I want to specialize in just finance, whereas the COO sort of takes a horizontal look across all those silos and begins to tie it together. And that's where when I was always the CFO and dropped into the COO role, I got to develop this skill set of I understand the butterfly effect of the decision you're making. So if you're going to make a decision over here in sales, how is that really going to affect the delivery of it, right? If you sell something, can your team deliver it? Because my ultimate goal in life is to make sure that no business owner ever compromises their deliverable because of an operational misfire. And I just want that to be the thing. I don't like it when there's poor signage or poor direction or people can't find their way. So let me put the lights on the pathway for you. You've built a great pathway. People just can't see it yet, or they don't know what direction to go. So we can put those things in, those markers in place and allow everyone to function at a nice, easy, efficient level.
So from an AI standpoint, you already mentioned that you're integrating a custom GPT, which you said it's brain dump Brenda. Is that right?
Brain dump on Brenda. She's great.
So what else or how are you integrating AI into business?
Sure. So great question. I think what we realize is when we can do this for ourselves, why not make it better for our customers?
Sure.
And, I think there are certainly a lot of challenges against AI, and I'm in a lot of ethical AI groups on how do we use this in an ethical, responsible manner. And so what we managed to do is think, how can we build tools that people don't need us, right? How do we make it that someone doesn't feel that when they're in one of our courses that they have a barrier to entry of, well, great, now I have this template, but what do I put in it? Or I can read this Word document, but how do I apply that in a real life situation? And so, for example, we have a tool that we utilize for scalability. And a lot of times we just ask people in any room, right, that, hey, take this QR code, fill it out. It's like 4 questions. It sort of explains the question and asks you the why. You tap it and then it responds to you to say, your scalability percentage is X. And here is why it is this percent. And it's all about your readiness to say, okay, if the next big best piece of business walks into my door today, can I absorb it? Again, from our mission of not wanting anyone's deliverable to be compromised, I also believe you're only 5 people away from meeting the person that will change your life.
Oh, I love that.
And so if you're not ready for that life change, imagine your dream customer coming in and saying, I'm ready for you, and you're not. That sets in this panic. And so I realized that as well for us, as we were growing as a company, I hit that peak of going, what if the next step, and it happened today, guys, would we take it on? And this is where we introduced the ponder time of like, what would go wrong if we all had to do this right now?
Anticipating the holes.
And really starting to test our own products. Like, let's build this for us before we give it to everybody else. Let's see so these products for us have got us to where we are. And we thought, now it's time to really refine them, make them interactive in a way that people can use them every day without needing us to be right there with them. Do we have check-ins? Absolutely. Are there rooms in there where my team are beside you all day long if you have a question about your tool? For sure. But you shouldn't feel like you're stopped. You shouldn't feel like you hit a barrier or a wall.
Like your team's the body, or the bottleneck.
We are this gatekeeper to this secret information.
Yeah.
Right? AI has allowed us to display this in a way that's understandable without us. And so we want to give you that at a price that doesn't break the bank. Why should it? Right? Because we're the developers on the back end. So if we can keep that stuff moving, that's what those courses are about. And then obviously when you get to a point that you're going, okay, I've grown so much, I need a human, then you bring the humans in, right? We're right there for you. It's to help you get to where you need to by building the foundation on the parts that you can build without us, rather than paying us to build something that you could probably do if you just had the right interaction.
So from an operations standpoint, obviously AI has just like jumped from kind of like a niche area of technology before ChatGPT to becoming on everybody's minds. In what ways are you seeing business owners use AI in very effective ways within their operations? And in what ways do you look at and say, that's probably not the best use for AI?
And I think from an operational standpoint, we use multiple tools for multiple things. So it's about learning what the tool is good at, right? And what I like to say is your ChatGPT is kind of like the thing on your tool belt. It's quick. It's going to give you the baseline answer that you need. Now that it has deep research in it, it's even more powerful. And it's now starting to catch up with some of the other tools that jumped ahead, right? What we see is this roller coaster that happens is we get one that peaks and goes, okay, we're doing this, and then everyone follows, and then someone else does a new thing and it becomes the new standard. And so if we're looking at data knowledge that we need it to use, we're using Claude inside the project modules so that it's reading our data only that we're asking it to read. So if we have something, for example, for anything that requires our branding, then our brand boards are in there. Our colors, our custom colors are in there. So like when we say, okay, can you take this and rebrand it into our 2025 coloring, then it's going to do that Zippo, right? Rather than having someone to have to go in and be like, oh my goodness, there's 12 templates that need new branding.
And there's the efficiency. You don't have a human doing that.
Yeah, but my human still needs to prompt it. And my human still needs to realize that, oh, we changed the branding, 12 documents now need rebranded. That didn't take away someone's function. It gave them more time to ponder, to go, what could this be? How could I build multiple projects in Claude to do things? So my marketing person was able to spend time building us projects for every service line. So it reads our buyer persona, it reads our brand guidelines, it reads what we're trying to accomplish from that service line. And it can do anything from social media to like ideas, right? This just produces her ideas inside the project that's very specific to exactly what we're asking it to be specific to. But then you introduce something like Manus and you go, wow, okay, this thing can create whatever it wants in seconds. And that's where the past 2 months or so, as we've seen Manus come out, we think about how we can put all of the tools we have into an app in your pocket. And then you're walking around with the power of the C-suite in your pocket at all points in the day.
Wow, I love that.
And so, that's where our hours go now. So it becomes like Manus is much better at understanding your vision, right? Because it can see beyond and it can use deep research and then it can produce a tangible product. Claude is better for organization and understanding very specific things for what we do. And ChatGPT is just our best friend all the time, right? It's like that friend that you just ask. Yeah. And, we create custom GPTs in there, like Brain Dump on Brenda. We have one that's Delegate like Denise, so that you would understand how I would delegate a project, right? If you put your entire project plan in there, it would say Denise would delegate it like this, so that CEOs don't have to think about, if delegating's not your thing, then I don't want to give it to you because I don't understand what you've got going on. Or, hey, look at your team's hours first or something. It'll give you a couple of tips on how to use it. And so we build things more customarily until what we want that output to be with the AI tools that we have. If someone doesn't want it looking at the internet, we're going to use Llama because that's going to come onto your machine. Right. And then it becomes that agent that you have that's not looking anywhere else and not giving your data away. It's on your server. And so it really depends what someone's trying to build within their operation, how we will integrate AI into it. Is it a software? Is it an API connect? Is it a Zapier or a Make connection? Like, what are we really looking at? And then we'll build the tool based on the need. We look at more innovation over iteration, so that we pull that back and say, well, what do you want? And let us custom create it for you.
I love the fact that not only, in a short time have you and your team integrated 3 to 4 AI tools, but it sounds like too, you have an internal process to know, and team members know where and when to use which tool. A lot of CEOs that listen to this and that we come into contact with are still, to your point, fearful about how to integrate it. They may be using ChatGPT, but they're not really integrating it with your team. So because you work with a lot of C-suite, C-level executives, if they're not afraid of it, what do you think then is keeping them from integrating it within their own business?
I think, again, a lot of people see it as, and there's a lot of buzz around this and a lot of social media as well, is like, well, it's going to take over the jobs, right? That's what I hear the most. And what I challenge people to think about during that is, what about what it creates, right? And it's not, and I don't think it's just about the AI will take away jobs and it will create other jobs. What I think we'll see is, again, like a roller coaster of, hey, we need prompt engineers to learn prompting. But once we've built the tool that now has got the best prompts, prompt engineers are going to be working behind the scenes and there'll be less of them. And we'll see a decline in prompt engineers. And then, hey, now we need specific code developers to check when websites break. If you're building websites on Manus AI, what happens when it breaks and you're not the coder?
Like support,
right?
Yes.
There's this whole thing on TikTok just now called vibe coding, and coders, like legitimate coders, right? And this other guy's like, well, yeah, but it's vibe coding. I just tell it and it does it. And the real coding engineer's like, yes, but what about when it breaks? How do you vibe with the broken website for 3 days, right? And so it's about, again, like, how do you maybe use these tools to get you further, and then you bring in the expert that's better than you at it, right? When my team asked me this question, that was exactly what I said. They're like, what if it breaks? And I said, that's a great question. I'm so glad that we're concerned about that. But what happens if we manage to get these things to this point and then we can afford an engineer of our own? And then they're like, oh yeah, okay, well, that would be good, wouldn't it? Yeah, of course it would be good. But we have to look at it in stepping stones. It's just like any business. We can't, go 0 to 100 on AI. Yes, we can move much faster, but it's all about putting it in at the right point in time, and then again bringing the expert in the loop in to run it, right?
I love that. And
so we look at it again as more of a modular thing, is versus don't just go all in or be all out, right? We want to use it in ways that, and I do think that about any tool. I think the tools are only as good as the users who utilize them. So if it's not something you're going to utilize in your business, or your team just won't buy into it, stop forcing it. Give them some use cases on it, or when you use it, show them how you used it, right?
Yeah.
My 64-year-old dad just started using ChatGPT.
Love it.
So he...
See if he can do it.
Right. And it was funny. My brother introduced him to who my brother also works for Scope. And so he works in the UK, which gives us sort of a 24-hour service providing realm. And we have a couple of people in the UK and a couple of people here, but he was showing my dad what ChatGPT was. And it was funny. My dad had messaged him back and he's like, well, I could see quite a lot of uses for this. And I know he's thinking about it more along like where he opens his fridge and says, okay, I've got some beef, some potatoes and some bread. What can I make for dinner kind of thing, versus,
hey, you got to start somewhere.
But it did keep his mind tracking. He's a mechanical engineer. And so he was like, I could see his brain ticking of like, wonder what else I could really do with this, or like, how could this really help my day? Like rewrite my emails. I gave him an example of you can have it write a letter to the council about them not taking your bins out every week, or your garbage cans out.
Yeah.
Like, just have it write a letter and you finesse it, and then it doesn't have to be so angry coming from you, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I guess I could do that, But I think he can also then see, well, yeah, if I had, I had said to him, you can have our executive email enhancer and it will polish all your emails for you. And he was like, I just put it in there and it will tell me how to do it better. Yep.
Yeah, that's it.
And he was like, yeah, that would save me a lot of time, right? So even if you're just introducing it to someone new, that's why I say don't push the resistance.
Oh, yes.
Let it be resisted and be the right time for your company. I was lucky that I had a bunch of early adopters who were like, this is cool.
Yeah.
Right. But not everybody has that. And we do have some high C people in there. If you take a disc assessment, they need all the detail.
Oh, yeah.
So they always come back with that discernment of, well, what about the data? What about this? And I need that,
accurate,
right? Because I'm a helium balloon there. So they're going to anchor me back to the ground and say, what about this and this and this? And that is where then we discovered, some people are going to want a desk agent because they don't want to share their data. I'm cool with that, right? You do what you want with it, but help it lessen the burden of your day.
Oh, I love that. I mean, it just kind of reminds me to bring it to exercise. I mean, running a marathon, when you think about 26.2, you haven't even trained for 1 mile. It's very overwhelming. But you run it just one step at a time, 1 mile at a time. And then eventually you kind of are like, oh my gosh, I just did 26.2, you know? So I think the same way from a mindset and perspective standpoint to think about that with AI and implementing it into the organization, like you said, just one step at a time. And then when you get to that next stepping stone, there might be a different solution or a different path that you wouldn't have been able to see before.
Do you have any tips to share about customizing AIs and specifically like custom GPTs just for business owners who are looking to break into that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, think about your output most, right? What do you want? And that's a hard question to ask ourselves, even like from an AI perspective or just a business perspective. What do I want? And it took me 2 or 3 years to go, I want to solve this, right? And so even from an AI standpoint, it's the same question. What do you want to output for you? What are you wanting that to drive, or what time are you wanting to save, and work backwards, right? And then you can configure from there, or you can decide, well, I need this kind of tool. And if you can't build it, have someone build it for you. It's relatively cheap, and then you have it, right?
Yeah.
You know, like if there's a tool that you're saying, if I just had this, then have someone build it for you. We've noticed that a lot recently, where we've had a lot of people coming in going, I like that tool you built. Can you tweak this for me? Sure, of course we can. Again, if you will use it, use it. Think about what you want. And so when I tailor anything, right, like brain dump on Brenda, I needed a tool in my car that I could talk to. I needed something that I could press this and it would take in all the things that I had to say in a random order. And I needed it to be given back to me in a structural way that I could understand, break down, and share with others. And so I started with that's the output I want, and I would work back. And then I would think, well, I would really like her to show me my blind spots. So then I was like, okay, Brenda, I need you to then show me what I'm not thinking about, because I'm a creative visionary and most people are logical and need the reason why I'm doing this. So make sure you show me what I'm not thinking about.
If you're at the disc analysis, the C's.
Yeah. So if I'm way over here in the sky and you need to know why I'm doing it or what this function might become, then I was asking it to show my blind spots, and then it would, right? Or if I need it to ask me more questions about a topic. You know, when it asks you, when our delegation tool, it will say, you know, do you have anyone in mind you would like to delegate this to? And you can tell them what each person does. And the delegation tool will then say, well, actually, they're probably the best match for these things of what you need to get off your plate. But I needed to know, why am I trying to delegate? What am I trying to delegate? Who am I delegating to? And so when I realized that I knew I had a problem with being able to confidently delegate, then I built this tool to help me. It wasn't about a personal relationship between me and another human. It was about, hey, we're all a team and these are the things that have to be done. And so we're going to have this little squeeze, but here's who's going to do it.
So cool. Okay, so you built your custom GPTs. You also mentioned that you have courses and I don't want to, you have AI built in as almost like a chat, like a GPT built into these courses?
Almost. So again, I took a thought, I would think about what would I want in this situation? How would I, if someone gave me this output, how would I then use it? And we would then build a tool that interacts with you. So you're going to give it some answers, right? It's going to ask you some questions. You're going to fill in some things. And then with your inputs and my brain behind it, it's going to say, well, here's where you're at, and essentially give you what I would tell you if you were in a consulting space with me.
That's cool.
And so our 8 modules that walk you through there's 8 modules on, it's called Agency Autopilot.
Agency Autopilot is the course name. Okay.
And so, the second one releases in, I think, 60 days. It's called Growth Command. That has even more intense tools in it, right? So right now, the Agency Autopilot, everyone...
That's where you start.
That's where you start, right? You're like, okay, I'm trying to integrate these things. I don't, am I scalable? Do I have enough capacity? Is my team set up the right way? Do I have the right people in the right roles? I might have the right people, but are they in the right roles? Or are my customers profitable? Right? We have a system at Scope where we rank our own customers. And it's like, and that it's not to highlight the negative, but it's also to see who understands what we're doing and then who also resists what we're doing. Because I don't want to serve someone in a way that they're not being served in the way they want either.
Oh, I love that.
So it allows us to match and also then help people find the next step if it's not us. So as we see them grow, we can say, you're going to outpace this, and here's our next partner that we think you might need to be with, or because we're heading in this very technological direction, but you might need a human, and we'll help you hire that human when they get to that point. So like we can see from behind the scenes what they're up to and how that then helps them grow. And we can then help make sure that they're matched in a way that whether they're in agency autopilot now, do they need to be in growth command because they've outpaced it? Or do they really need fractional services, or do they need a different service provider than us?
Oh, wow. I love that.
And I don't want anyone to be stuck in our confines feeling like, oh, I don't want to leave them because I've got this good relationship. That won't hurt my feelings. I want you to be successful because your success is our success. Right? We're a collaboration. It's not about me winning one over you. It's about us both collectively winning.
I love that. I love your philosophy. And I love too, you mentioned it's not about ranking them, but also to see where each company is and do they need more? Is it not enough? Or, hey, can we no longer serve you in the success that you're at, but we'll still help you find a partner? So that's incredible.
So is there anything within your role that you would like to automate with AI yourself?
Oh, what?
I love that question. And I feel like my ponder time is spent every day doing exactly this. And, I have a larger client just now where I think if they could embrace the automation, we would see it. I think there can be a lot of automation built that we just, again, we've got a little resistance to. So from my role specifically, I would like to see a lot more tools out there to help you think, to help you brainstorm, to help you really critically think about the outcomes you're trying to achieve as a business owner.
It's almost like a prompt.
Yeah,
Okay.
Let's talk to me about this, right? Like about how do I have a conversation with someone? I really believe that the circle you're in is going to help you surround your thinking. So if I need to level my circle up, how could I use AI to really begin to start extracting that? I was once told by a mentor, which I've never forgotten. I was telling him that I was going to this conference and I'd bought a ticket, and he's like, that's the last time you'll ever buy a ticket like that. And it took me off guard. I was like, whoa, what? And, it was a new relationship. And he said, look, the ticket that you bought, you're going to be sitting next to people who are doing what you do. If you ever want to grow, you should have bought the VIP ticket because those are the people who are going to level you up and help you learn something that day.
Oh my God.
And I'll tell you, the universe smacked me in the face with it because I walked away from that meeting going, surely he didn't tell me that. And I was like, and it was one of the first times as a business owner myself where a mentor had kicked me in the teeth and been like, you're an idiot. And I was okay. I mean, I was all right with it. People can tell me those things and I want to go and reflect on it. But when I was reflecting on it, I was like, I'm still going, haven't I? I started justifying it. And I got to the conference, it was in Nashville, and I sat next to a guy who complained about his baked potato for lunch the entire day, the entire afternoon. And I looked at him and I was like, you've spent $250 on a ticket and you got some chicken and a baked potato. What are you expecting? We're in Nashville in a huge conference center.
And that's your perspective. That's what you're focused on.
Yeah, that was the only, he was whining about. Eventually I left in the last session and moved seat because I couldn't listen anymore about the dry baked potato. Was the baked potato dry? Sure, but were we there for that? No.
Yeah.
But then I realised at that moment in time, that's exactly what that mentor was telling me. And that there would have been no one in the VIP section probably even eating lunch because they would have been making business deals.
Yeah.
They would have been talking about things that mattered or, what are you doing in this sphere of life or whatever that might be. And it was then I realised that you have to be in the places you want to be, not the place you are. And so if AI could help me really extract that critical thinking about future and possibility, then I think that'd be the one tool I'd love. But who puts that in there, right? It's got to be someone that's better than I that creates that for me to jump up a circle, right? And I don't know if that's necessarily possible, but if I could have something in my role, it would be a networking circle that I could talk to.
It's like masterclass, but like
inside AI, where it's just, and essentially that's sort of our idea with the app, right? Is that you would have our skill sets inside an app to talk to me all day, even though sometimes it's not me, it is everything that I would think.
Yeah, that's why the AI industry is moving toward reasoning models away from just merely
flat language.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so as we see that reasoning come in, I'd like to see a circle of CEOs that I could chat with all day long.
And then you pay to subscribe to be in that circle.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Well, Denise, I could talk for hours about this, but we're kind of coming to the end. And one last question. What words of wisdom would you give people listening around just AI?
Just give it a go.
Give it a go.
Just see what it can do for you.
Yep.
Ask it. If you don't know, ask it.
Oh,
That's the beauty of it, right? Like if you don't know what it can do for you, ask it. I mean, I have ChatGPT roast me all the time, right? I have it roast me like Kim Kardashian at Tom Brady's roast.
That's so good.
And it is fantastic because it helps me see all my blind spots of what it knows about me. Right. And you can do it on the opposite. If you really need that extra push, be like, tell me all the great things you know about me. And it will. I like to be roasted so I can see my own blind spots, you know?
Yeah.
And so that way it helps me stay on track.
Well, Denise, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for the conversation and coming on the Go AI podcast. If our audience wants to get in touch with you, how do they find you?
I am Denise at Scope everywhere. On all social platforms, you can find me, Denise at Scope. From
Denise at Scope.
Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whichever one, Denise at Scope, and you'll find me.
And we will put that in the show notes as well as your AI course.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Go AI. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and review our podcast so we can continue to grow and offer more great AI content. If you're looking for digital marketing, digital transformation, or AI help, make sure you visit www.guardianowdigital.com. Have questions? Email team@guardianowdigital.com for answers. See you next time on Go AI.